Hello everybody and welcome back. So after carefully looking at various images for the magma and lava textures, what I noticed the most is that we need something dark, something black with a lot of cores and mass being dark, and then few cracks that are connected together to bigger cracks, and then those will be super bright. So this is basically what lava would do, or what we would perceive as moving lava. As long as it has swirly patterns, big thick cracks that fades into dark areas, the visual is gonna sell and the eye is going to be satisfied. We don't really have a very good, understanding of how this material could behave because we don't see it very often. It's not like the way we look at ocean or skin or the sky or the cloud. Those are things we know very well. Magma we've only seen probably a few times in our lifetime, except the videos. So my goal was to create something that looks like this, or something that feels like a lava with hot cores, cracks, and then big lines and huge areas where they are simply darker or have a red tone or feels like they are glowing. And the first thing that come to mind is, I'm going to create a geometry node, that what if we could take a any surface that have, let's say, a mountain, okay, and we run an erosion process on it, and then flatten that surface so that it doesn't have any height, but it still have that height information from the previous result. So I'm going to quickly do a test to illustrate what I was trying to do. I'm going to create a height field. We're going to use height field. So I'm going to create a height field. I'm going to set the spacing to 1. I'm going to create a noise, height field noise, and simply connect this. Okay, this is a good start. Now I'm gonna lower the octaves. I don't need too many. And let's try terrain. We'll keep it at that. I'm gonna increase the height to 1000. Okay, I'm gonna run an erode process. Height field erode. And again, this is just for illustration. And I'm gonna hit play. Okay. So what happened? We've got these blue lines for the water. We got these nice cracks now, and we have areas that are, if we look at them, they are very uniform. They don't have lines, okay? They don't have these pools of blue in them. So pretty much we have, cracks connecting to something bigger, and then everything else. That's how I see it. And if we, let's clear the visualization. Field clear and layer clear. No. Let me check the name of the node. Height field visualization. I'm going to first say remove tinting and remove material to get it back to the way it was. And I'm actually going to run this at a higher scale, at a higher resolution. And let's run for 15 frames. There's a lot more detail, so it's taking longer, and probably won't reach the same result that we had by frame 15, but let's see. Okay, we can keep it going off. Obviously, we don't have to stop here, but I want to illustrate something. So if we look at the result now, we have a lot more lines. Cool. A lot more details. Okay, let's clear this and let's put down a height field scale or transform. Okay, it's hard for me to remember all the names. So height, terrain, height field transform. Yes, and I'm gonna scale the height to 0.1. I'm gonna create a visualization node, and I don't need any tinting. And we have, after this erosion, we get fields. We get mask, bedrock, sediment, height, debris, and water. I'm interested in the water. Yeah, put that here. Gonna give it a orange color. And then I'm gonna set all of this to be dark. And boom, we're already starting to see some patterns that could be used for the lava. So we're getting these nice cracks, and what we could do is we could post-process this. So I'm gonna disable the transform that I did because I want the geometry to still be following the original shape, because we're going to use that information. So if we do, for example, a noise, and let's look at it here. So if we do height field noise, and what I want is a height field distort by noise. So I'm going to connect this. I'm going to make a noise pattern. It doesn't it can be applied to the original surface, and I'm going to lower the frequency to something like this, and then I'm going to connect it to this. No, sorry, it's not the way it works. This has the noise pattern. We don't need anything unless we want to mask. So I'm going to increase the noise, and I'm going to increase the size of this distortion. And now if we look at the height field visualization, we see we're getting some nice distortion applied, but it's not distorting that map that we want. The reason for that is because the height field is only deforming, this node is only deforming the heights. We want to distort the water as well. And by doing so, we're getting now some more interesting details. And let's flatten the geometry so we could see it. So we could do something like this. And this is one way. This is how we could get these interesting shapes. Now, I didn't start with this because I knew that it's going to take me a lot of time to get interesting details and interesting heights. So what I've done is I'm going to go over the setup and show some ideas. So if we, this is the height field for the initial state. And what I ended up using is I used Megascan texture to start with. And what is lava? Well, it's actually moving rocks, basically. It's lava that's going to cool off and become very solid. And a lot of those, that process is going to create rock formations. And over time, it's going to become rocks, which what we see now, or an island. So rocks have a lot of similar patterns that we see in lava. And I'm going to show a couple of textures, and you can find a lot of free stuff now from Megascan that you could use. I'm going to show one of them. So this is one image of a height map that I used. It's a scan of rocks. And then this one is the second one, which I have displayed in Houdini. This is the second one. And by looking at this, when I started investigating, when I saw this image, I said, it's going to work. I know if I remap this properly, it's going to look what I wanted it to be. And then with all the extra stuff from Houdini, we can make it look even better. So what I have here is a height field node reading height field file. This could be simply an image, and in this case it's the displacement map, and I'm overlaying the cavity and the bumps just to capture more details. That's all. I'm gonna add a road node, and let's see the resolution for this. So I'm gonna set it to 1, so it's really high. I'm gonna run an erosion on top of this instead of the one we did together. Now with erosion, it's very, very important to have proper heights, because it tries to mimic real life hydrodynamics, where water flows through a surface, it accumulates and then creates cracks, and it creates rivers and everything. So the more the better, the more your geometry is, the closer your geometry to real life, the better the result is going to be. So if I was able to get this to have better heights, I would probably have done that, but in this case it was very uniform, so I just used it. And I'm gonna disable cooking and go to that node that we did together. So these two, and let's plug them in. And let's remove height field viz. And I'm gonna remove everything so it doesn't affect my stuff. And then if we look at the result now, we should have some interesting patterns as well. Something like this. And let's see, maybe, yeah, if we use the height of this, it's probably going to be interesting. And the elevation is not 250. Well, you see, it's already the elevation is not 250, so I'm gonna tweak it, or let's compute the range properly. It uses the y-app, which is the correct one. And let's invert the colors. Okay. So we could get something like this. And then we have those dark spots. Yeah, this is really cool. So this is what I've done. I ended up using this approach, and I stored 2 textures. One is done using this version, and another one done using this version. And this is a scan of rocks as well, just applied as a texture. And this is the rocks cliff or something like that. I will share the map links. One is called rock lava. Okay, so it's a scan of lava, even better. And then the other one, it's called the rock lava TFYFGZL. And then so I used this one, and then the other one is a soil cracked, which is this one. So let's copy this same pattern, same nodes. I'm gonna quickly run an erosion over this one as well. Just to see what we get. So what I was looking for is I wanted two maps. One that has large patterns like this one, the rock lava one, and then another one with much more repetitive, smaller patterns. And by combining these two, I get both features I want, large and small. So this is the erosion on this geometry, I think. Yeah. It's very aggressive. Oh no, sorry, it didn't cook yet. Sorry. It's cooking now. So this one is going to create very interesting patterns as well. And let me quickly show the final result of what these images look like. So once we cache them to disk, and let's do this. Once we cache them to disk, they're gonna look like this, and I will show how I did this exactly. So this is the large pattern. Oh, come on. And this is the small pattern. You can see we're getting these nice cracks. That's all I needed. And this is the second one with large details. Cool. So this is the erosion finished. And I'm gonna visualize it. Let's compute range. Yeah, something like this. And we also could analyze mask by feature. And this is going to analyze the geometry and create masks for us. So we could, let's do it here. So mask by feature, this is gonna analyze the slope. So the orientation, I don't want that. We can mask by height, compute range. So the lower, the darker, or vice versa. So we could get interesting shapes as well off of this. And then we have curvature, which is very cool. So curvature is going to give us a lot of nice details as well. And then we have occlusion, which is my favorite. And this is going to be really cool to get nice big randomization in the red areas. Okay, so with this, what I've done is I've computed various data on these height fields like I showed, and then I cached them using this node. So height field output, and I cached the height, which is the height, the sediment, which is coming from the erosion, the debris, and masks. And the mask by feature, I'm using occlusion only. So that's it. I'm storing the occlusion as mask, and then I have these two images. One is large, and one has large details, and one has small details, and both using the same graph really. And we're going to talk about this next. So from these two images, I was able to get this. And this is the final lava map that we used. And these lines, there's what I was looking for basically to get. And then these smaller cracks that combines, and all these veins, all that stuff. And believe it or not, you could try and Google some stuff, but I wasn't able to find decent textures that has these nice colors, these patterns that I could use. And at the beginning when I started this, I knew the lava is going to be a big portion of the project, which ended up not being the case, but I spent a lot of time to make it look really, really good. And I think this approach could be the key to that. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit.